morning.
Good morning.
Unity of Springfield, Adult Ed. And my name is John Braucher. And today we're going to continue the Joe Dispenza Becoming Supernatural discussion. And last week, we kind of got into the weeds a little bit, but that's because that's what Dr. Joe does. He's into the science of meditation and discussing what's going on with us neurologically, and really the whole hope is that we're going to reprogram our neurochemistry and our neurobiology based on what it is that we want. And his hope is that we'll be more effective at becoming who we want to be, doing what we want to accomplish, and to improve the odds and the speed at which we manifest by choice, as opposed to everything being by accident or in random occurrences based on being programmed by our culture, our family, our that whatever it was that we were born into that gave us our early learning trials. And so we can relearn. And let's see, I don't even have that other piece, but last week, one of the things that we did is we talked about, if you can't meditate, just spend some quiet time in your car. If you can't practice gratitude, just be thankful for what it is that you eat and that beautiful fruit that's in the back of this morning. And also welcome to those who are live streaming this morning, either live or later on in the day when you catch this. So, and Dr. Joe, just a quick review, he's educated to be a chiropractor, and then he got caught into neuroscience and just lost his mind totally, and just totally went in different directions, and found meditation and decided he wanted, what is going on here? He wanted to study it. What's physiologically going on? And so he came up and partnered with people so that he could study brain waves, electrocardiograms of the heart, and also energy measurements, which I don't really understand, which is because it's not part of the 3D energy. It's the energy that's more like electron speed of motion, which I'm not sure how that works, or the technology there. And the basic thing always comes down to is, and I spent 40 some years of my career as a clinical social worker, and I never changed anybody. I was fortunate to be able to be a consultant for people who made changes in their lives. So it's always going to be you making any of the changes that occur in you. If you don't like the way things are going, then the questions and the answers are, of course, lie in us and ourselves before. And the premise is that we're pre-programmed in childhood and as we grow up, and that we're typically not aware of that pre-programming. And once we are, then we're in a position to do something about it. And then there's this whole thing about change, and this is my motivational interviewing piece that I'm going to do, which comes from my career too, is that in order to reprogram the way you want your body, your mind, how you want the manifestations to come forward, require change. And change doesn't have to be hard, but it doesn't happen accidentally. And to start to change your behavior takes energy. It takes focus. And the hardest part of change is initiating it and getting into some kind of a routine of the new behavior, the new you. Okay, so Dr. Joe says start with writing down what it is you envision. Okay. What is it that you want? And describe it in as much detail as you can, with one caveat, with one exception. You don't write anything about how it's going to come about. Just what the experience will be like, and then another page, which is just what he calls elevated emotions or feelings about how great and fantastic it's going to feel when these ideas, these hopes, these future potentialities that we're looking at, when they start to occur, how does it feel? When what you've always wanted comes true, when your dream comes true, how does it feel? And write that down too. And assign the dream itself, whether it's a better job, a better relationship, better health, assign it a letter. So something that is simple, that you can just use as a reminder. Kat and I were talking earlier about how we write things down and put them up on a wall so that we get reminded about stuff. You know, I post things on my refrigerator, and then I also have a calendar on the wall next to the door as I'm leaving every day. You know, when I leave the house, there's the calendar, so if there's something scheduled, I forgot. So if I'm going out to play pickleball that morning, I get a reminder of what's going to happen. And I need those visuals because I don't necessarily, other than it's pickleball day, and of course programming our little handheld computers also helps to remind us to do things, and he also encourages that. But the point being is that in order to reprogram, it requires a lot of trials, because we were programmed over a lot of trials over the years beforehand. So it's quite an endeavor. And if you're not ready to go as deep as this, that's also really okay. Because the what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about, last week we talked about the basic meditation technique, and then today we're going to talk about, and I'll have handouts afterwards, but I don't really want you looking at them right now because they're kind of wordy and very descriptive, very specific, but you're welcome to copies of this. It's a lot of work. Like, one of the meditations ends up being, a full hour just to do the base meditation, and which is a lot. And there's a lot of starting and stopping, and it's a lot. And then one of them, I didn't even, I'll talk about it, but I'm not ready to do it because it requires me creating a mind movie. So I have to download the app to make a video on my laptop at home, and then download a kaleidoscope app, and then do some cutting and taping and creating a multimedia presentation that represents what I want to manifest in a way that is also helping me not think in words, but to be more in a trance, in a meditative trance, so I'm more receptive to the field for becoming. Okay. We also talked about the brain waves, that beta, low, medium, and high. High is in survival, associated with stress and trauma. Medium beta is slightly elevated and is often what we'll associate with, like competitive sports or doing something, at work where we're really concentrating hard and we have a little bit of an edge. Beta low is just kind of normal, awake, relatively calm, but just aware of your environment, but very environmentally based, three-dimensionally based. Alpha is what we start to do in church when we do meditation. It's very relaxed, calm, even intuitive. Examples are like the body scan, like we do in church every week. And daydreaming and imagining are also things, behaviors, cognitive behaviors that we do during alpha waves. Theta is the twilight state when your body is falling asleep, but your mind is still awake, and you're still aware. And it also occurs when you're aware that you're dreaming. Delta usually occurs in deep sleep, and it's a very slow wave, low amplitude and a slow wave. And it's possible to achieve during profound meditation, but and though not easy, although he does try to assist people in being able to do that because it's helpful in the process. And then gamma, which he considers to be the gold standard wave for reprogramming, indicates a superconscious state where the brain is aroused by an internal event like a dream, and is often probably what occurs during REM sleep, where it's a very active EEG, but you're not here.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Does he talk about in there that he feels it's necessary and vital to clear the chakras before getting to those states, or does he have a different science approach?
Yes. Noel, he kind of bounces around, but yes, he has an
Yeah.
entire chapter on chakra, and so that's the next thing I'm going to talk about is the energy center.
Okay.
So he looks at 8 energy centers. Typically, we consider there's 7 chakras, but then he also looks at the ka as being the 8. So the first one's the inferior mesentery plexus, which is where our sexual glands are, and it's where we hold sexual trauma, anxiety, and other things like that. The next level is the superior mesentery plexus, and it's the digestive and pancreatic glands. And it's there that we hold a lot of the emotions like shame, blame, hostility, fear of rejection, just all of those real negative fears. And then the solar celiac plexus is the next one up, and that's associated with the adrenal glands. It's associated with competition, trying to get ahead, and a lot of the stress. More. Get the materialistic, the kind of the Western idea of success that's kind of encapsulated in that. And disappointed if you're not perfect, perfectionistic, all that stuff. It's all wrapped up in that third one. So the emotions and a lot of things that often get trapped in those first 3 energy areas, energy centers, or chakras, and so that's what we talked about when the basic meditation skills that I taught last week are designed to help cleanse the chakra, and we're going to go into more detail today. And so we'll even do some dry runs. We're not going to have the time to really do it justice, and we won't have all the bells and whistles. He encourages to use some specific tapes or songs, or find non-lyrical music that you like and is meaningful to you, that helps you get into that kind of Zen state and allows you to go to the not thinking place. The next one, the fourth one, is the heart chakra, or the heart plexus. And that's where we start to be able to be creative, where we experience compassion, both for others as well as for ourselves, and where hope starts, and positive emotion, and everything from the heart up. Those are the energy centers where we can get involved in creation. The heart plexus is also really interesting, and he spends a whole chapter on this, in that the heart has its own nervous system, and Sue talked a little bit about this in church last week when she talked a little bit about HeartMath. And he talks also about HeartMath Institute and cites data from their studies in this book. And it's just well known that there's like a brain, a mini brain in the heart, in the physical heart, but also in this energy center. It's also a base. It helps to inform our thinking, and it also informs, especially according to Abraham and Abraham Hicks. Are we going in the right direction or are we not? Are we missing? Are we vibrationally aligned or are we not? And when we're not vibrationally aligned, we're going to feel the more negative type feelings. Even after you've cleansed the chakras, if you're not vibrationally aligned and thinking what it is that you're desiring and you're wanting, that you're going for, but you're thinking something that is going to inhibit it, it's going to get in the way, it feels kind of not right. And that's our guidance system. When we're feeling like, the sense of joy, the sense of, I'm so grateful and he spends some time, and I've noticed it when I reread this, like about the third or fourth time, that he spends time, a lot of time, more than I realized, when I got into the specific meditation descriptions, blessing our challenges. Okay, and Abraham does this too. You don't realize what it is you do want until you experience what you don't want. And it's a blessing. Even though it's really uncomfortable, especially when we've frustratedly tried to change unsuccessfully things in the past, it doesn't feel very good. And that just means that when we're experiencing that, we aren't vibrationally aligned with what it is we want. And it's what is allowing us to know what we do want. So we bless it and we give thanks for the fact that we've had struggles, that we've had things that we've had to experience that we aren't particularly enjoying, and that aren't emotionally, joyful and all those positive emotions. But he's really trying to get us to go, okay, well, let's reframe challenges and things that are difficult for us, instead of giving them a negative connotation. Let's give thanks that they're helping to inform us about what it is that we do want, and not going to battle with it and judging it as something negative and bad and so on and so forth. Okay, the thyroid plexus, going back to the energy centers, the thyroid one, which is a throat one, gives expression to the heart. And it's the very next energy center above the heart. So all the compassion and the nervous system of the heart gets expression, both artistic and verbal and through song and other artistic, comes through this thyroid plexus. The next one's the pineal, which Dr. Joe believes is just the crucial mediator to the quantum field for us humans. That when we're able to get up and go through that, it allows us to be able to channel the vibrations and raise those vibrations. And the pineal gland is right in the center of the skull. It actually sits at the back of the cortex And the cortex, the neocortex, is like where all of our senses are, and the control of our emotions, and then the prefrontal cortex up here in front is what we think with, and all of our thoughts. But that's just the upper layer up here in the front. But down deeper is more of our emotions and our senses, and it faces that, and then it's along the thymus glands, which kind of give permission as to whether or not we're going to be calm or get excited. And then the pituitary plexus is above, it's at the crown of the head. So on one of the meditation, he asks us to put our finger on the top of our head, and then hold it there for a little bit so you can feel it, push it down pretty hard, and then let it go, and continue to have that awareness of where that is. Because then that's the end of the chakra within the body. But he says there's also, and the pituitary gland is the master gland of the endocrine system. So it tells the adrenals when to kick in. It tells which is the fight or flight response that then leads to cortisol and so on and so forth. It also and all of it, glucose management, all of the different the energy supply that we have in the thyroid, the pituitary gland is the master gland. And then approximately 6 to 8 inches above that is the cock. And that's what he says that's that connection. It's actually above, it's a part of the body, the energy body, but beyond what we consider the physical body, what we learned in school in biology. And the portal into the field, the quantum field. So we want to kind of have a sense of that, because we're going to focus during the meditation on first cleansing that tube, if you will, that goes from the pelvis all the way up through the head to the trunk of our body, basically along the line of our spinal cord, but not exactly, because it's not physiologically identical. It's more wavy because it's not matter. It's wave. Quantum, until you doesn't manifest in the 3D until we really focus on it and become vibrationally matched for it, and then it comes into the 3D. The rest of the time it's wavy, and we can't always see it unless we're supernatural, which is what he's trying to help us achieve, that ability to sense it during meditative states. Okay. I also talked last week that when you're going to go on to an endeavor like this, like becoming supernatural and doing some self-healing, it's really important to have your peeps. It's important to have people who you trust and care about and you believe care about you to be with you on the journey, because it's going to tap into potentially some very intense emotions that could be overwhelming, and it's really important to have a good support system while going through a journey like this, an intense spiritual journey. And I think that's why a lot of times there was a lot of the early teachers were always pushing for people to have gurus and stuff, where I've always kind of resisted that. I don't know. And I do see, though, the importance of having someone who you can talk about this stuff with. And when stuff comes up that's a challenge, that you have somebody who, is going to be supportive and not judge you and be there with you to support as you go through a journey like this. Okay. So, again, first step, get it written down, what it is you want. And get written down what your elevated emotions are. And get them in a form where you can repeatedly focus on them. So, and that's really what this whole book is about, is how to get the focus more and more and more intense to the point to where you can then vibrationally match and then create what it is that you are wanting. So, in most of the chapters of this book, there are, I lost the front cover, some descriptions of the meditations. Now, you can also go to drjoedispenza.com and you can purchase online tapes or digital copies that you can download of guided meditations that he uses in his workshops and stuff that you can use to follow. Or you can also use drjoedispenza.com/BSN meditations, which is becoming his book. And he has more detailed descriptions than what I'm going to share with you. But the ones I'm going to share with you are more detailed than what we were talking about last week. So last week we talked about diaphragmatic breathing, doing Kegels so that you lock down the base chakra, and then doing lower abdominal clenching. And the whole purpose of this is, well, there's more than one purpose. The one purpose is to cleanse the two. But also, it's also to activate the pineal gland. So it kind of those are the two main functions of doing this. And it starts with closing down the base chakra. And then tensing the abdominal muscles, which will cover, that are around the belly button and below, which cover the second and third chakra, which have a lot of those emotions that we have negative connotations as a response to trauma, pain, and other, ways that we were trained to think that we're finding aren't serving us very well. And which will not be helpful for bringing things on that have the more positive, elevated emotions. Because what are the elevated emotions that we talked about? What are elevated emotions that Joe Dispenza? Feeling great? What else?
Love, appreciation,
Love,
gratitude.
Appreciation, gratitude, yes.
Joy.
joy,
Bliss.
bliss, yeah. You know, the awe-inspiring, you know, the beauty of a sunset or a sunrise, a baby's face, a puppy dog, you know, all those elevated emotions that you just feel good. Yeah,
I use the sun coming up every morning.
there you go.
I didn't have to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
It just came up on its own. It's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah.
Not my job, Mom.
That's right. And that feeling, and associating that feeling. So we want those elevated emotions, we want to be associated with our goals, the things that we want to have happen. Now, and again, Abraham Hicks kind of addresses this. Revenge is not necessarily, vengefulness is not necessarily a bad thing, depending where you're at. But it's an emotion that's based in that second chakra. Okay? It comes from the victim experience that we've had. And so we want to get back at whoever it was that wronged us. Okay. Now, it's better than feeling suicidal. But it's still stuck in that second chakra area. And so has limited creative potential. Okay. So that's why we want to clean out those lower chakras. Not judge them. They're not bad. They're just are what they are. They're just a part of that learning experience that we had. And so we just need to get them out of the way so that we can reach the higher chakras where we can get involved with really being who we thought we came here to be in the first place. So, at the end of chapter 3, he gives this description. And this will be available to you all either through the joespenza.com or I have some printed copies here that I'll share with you. Prepare by reviewing your intentions and assign a single letter to represent a major area of proposed potential / change. And the elevated emotions you will achieve when your imagining potential happens. In meditation, begin your meditation focused on areas of the body, achieving coherence and moving from internal dialogue to just awareness of the senses, then beyond the 5 senses, the space around the body. And now is the time to take your attention off of your body, off of the environment, off of time, and become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, in no time, and become pure consciousness. Okay, now, this isn't all that easy. Okay?
There's a belief.
So, well, it's not going to happen accidentally. This requires this is my motivational interviewing piece too. It requires a commitment to practice meditation. And the reason why he says this is going to be more successful is because he's adding tools in that if you use them, They won't happen just because you read the book. Okay? They'll only happen if you put in some time. If you decide, starting to be in control of what I manifest is worth the discipline of setting down and taking the time. And so there's the 5 powers. And I always think about the I act, and then I think about meditation, and I just think it's hilarious because my action is I'm just going to sit here and not get anything done, and yet we're putting ourselves in a position. If we use the elevated emotions and we use some of the techniques and skills that he's sharing with us, it's amazing what we can do. And I believe it not so much because I've already gone through and done this. I'm still a work in progress, of course, on this. But I've accidentally done it before. Okay? Or I've done it with purpose, but it's been, up and down and a little, not exactly the shortest line between two spaces. Take a few detours over here and so on and so forth. But I do know that it can work, and what he's presenting makes enough sense to me that's why I wanted to share it. So, achieving coherence. What does that mean? We talked about it last week some. So that's when our thought and or senses and or what we're feeling start to match. So what we're intending, when we're starting to feel that, and then you start to feel those, we're intentionally trying to experience these elevated emotions. We're focusing on it as this is how I'm going to feel when my dreams come true. And then I'm going to experience them now. Well, because when we actually are experiencing them, when we're thinking about our dreams coming true, then, the universe is going to find you and put it in your lap. And it takes time and practice and vigilant practice to line that up. So because we have these subliminal, subconscious habit way of thinking. Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, we couldn't do this. We can't. Oh, I would look silly, or whatever the feedback, the programming that we have, which inhibits us getting into the flow, getting into the vortex, getting into the field. So there's a lot of practice and repetition. So now is the time to take your attention off your body and the environment and the time. Become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, no time, and become pure consciousness. The space beyond into the black void. When distracted by chatter, so he assumes that this might happen. Return to the current moment, the breath, and keep unfolding into the immaterial space by continuously reinvesting your attention into it. So by immaterial, what does that mean? Okay, non-3D.
Non-what?
3D. Beyond the 3 dimensions. Material This is material. But the fact is, there's more space in this little desk thing than there is. It's just energy holding it together. It's an illusion that it's solid. It's not really solid. Okay? There's just this, and so when we are just in the space of accepting that everything is just solid the way it is, it's a limiting way of looking at stuff. It's a limiting way of looking at ourselves. It's a limiting way of looking at the world. And so when we go with that assumption, we're blocking our capacity to manifest. Okay.
That is part of the first few sections of the Course in Miracles. They talk about the same thing,
Yep.
just the same principle.
Yes, it is. Think about the potential that already exists in the quantum field. Sense the energy of the future potential within and all around you, and tune into your future. So your future was your intentions. The future you want to create are your intentions and those elevated emotions. And that, once you've done that, once you've just thought it, written it down, refined it a little bit, it's there already in the quantum field. It just isn't in the 3D experience yet because we haven't yet become vibrationally aligned to it so that the manifestation occurs. Think about that potential that already exists in the quantum. Sense the energy of the future potential within and all around you, and tune into your future. When there is a vibrational match between your energy and that potential, the new event is going to find you. Now this might take some time. Once you are in a new state of being, you start broadcasting a new electromagnetic signature. Now remember your future before it happens. And mentally rehearse what that future will be like by living in that future. So again, this is a meditation of continuing to refine your intention with a little more information, because you're starting to scratch the edges of the quantum field. So you're starting to get a little bit of that information coming to you, not in words or writing, but just in this sense. Make it as real as possible, calling up all those elevated emotions you listed. Surrender your creation to a greater mind, planting a seed in the infinite field of possibilities, and just let go. Bless your body with a new mind. Bless your life. Bless your challenges. Bless your soul. Bless your past and bless your future. Bless the divine in you, and open your heart and give thanks to a new life before it's made manifest. Slowly bring your awareness back to the room, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Get up from your meditation as though your future has already happened, and let the synchronicities and new possibilities find you. So that's the first meditation off of the third, in the book, in the third chapter. Chapter 4, at the end of that, is the blessings of the energy centers meditation. Use methods to reach alpha waves, at least at that level, And then place your attention first at the base chakra or energy center. Then move to opening up your attention to the space around the center. So first, basically you're going to do a Kegel so that you can sense the location of that base chakra, because that's where it is. And first, just locate that, focus on that. Then the next step is to focus on the space around it, both within the body, but also beyond the body. Because we know that there's energy, electron and energy body that's beyond this physical body. So become aware of that, because you want to tune into it. Because what we're wanting to do is communicate with the quantum field. Once you can sense the space around the energy center, bless that center for the greatest good. And then connect to elevated emotions like love, gratitude, or joy, to raise the frequency of the center and also to create a coherent field of energy. A coherent field of energy is measured by it being regular, like a heartbeat that's regular, a brainwave that's fairly consistent and calm, as opposed to having real high amplitude and being very unpredictable about how it's going to come. It starts to have its own sense of serenity, even when looking at an EKG or an EEG. I mean, it just looks calm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do this for each of the 7 energy centers in the body. So, in the first 3, remember, are going to be associated with some potentially stuck energy. So that's during when you're going through those first 3 chakras, the base, and the first 2, those lower abdominal ones. Don't be shocked when you encounter negative emotions. Because that's if there's anything stuck, that's where it's stuck. So,
and as you work through the trauma, a lot of times your mind reverts to the old reaction of the trauma, like as a child, like shutting it down or
yes.
running away or
Yes.
doing that. So
Yes.
it's a challenge.
Yes.
It's not just going to come like that.
Right.
No.
As well as the body. I mean, the body's going to react to
Yeah,
it as
it's
well.
stored in the body.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, of course, the cure is exposure, which is also the cure for any anxiety disorder or any phobia, is simply exposure without experiencing the expected central nervous system response or autonomic response. So it requires developing some skills, which is part of what we're doing here, so that you don't re-traumatize yourself when you're doing the exposure. Yes.
I've been really getting into the Law of One. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. But just the illusion that there is such a thing as a body is a part of the insanity that we all live.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of this is an illusion. And if every one of us here determined we're not going to live this illusion anymore, and we pulled the goggles off, what would happen? Because all of us have agreed to be in this room together and to see it as a solid form because we put the goggles on when we were born. We're an infinite creature. And a finite mind cannot even begin to completely understand anything about the infinite. We spent $1 billion creating this satellite that was going to finally show us the edge of God. And all we found after spending $1 billion on this satellite is more God.
Right, and you know, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you know, they once a person doesn't, you know, has reached nirvana, then they croak, you know.
And that's a good deal.
And because they no longer need the body. The body is our playground, and it is important that we care for our bodies because that's helpful in practicing the skills to clear the energy centers, and there's a relationship between, you know, our current existence that we were born into on this earth, even though it's, you know, we're seeing something as being solid that really isn't, and that there is a lot of illusion in reality. But it's our playground. We just want to have the skill, the choice to move in and out. Yeah.
What I do when I'm gonna go and focus on some of that old junk that doesn't feel good, before I do it, I hook into like this observer part of me, and then I let the other part of me go experience it, so this observer person stays centered and aware that this other part of me is feeling this stuff. And so this guy's up here going, this isn't really real, this is just what's happening. This is really real. This part of me that's aware that I am all together and wonderful.
The insanity of sin is that you're a perfect son of the living God.
Yeah.
You cannot. There is not. And there is nothing that can be done that he did not produce.
Yeah.
She.
He, she,
no
it.
gender.
He, she, it. Whatever we want to do with it.
But if you can hold this different,
Right.
that perspective, before you decide to go exploring, then while you're exploring what's going on in those other chakras, you can actually let go of it easier, because this part of you is watching the whole thing like it's a television show.
Yeah. Well, it's what we are. We're infinite.
Okay, we're coming close to ending time, so let me run through a couple of. I realize I have way more data here than I have time for. And this actually would be kind of a cool spirit group to do sometime with some people to get together and really dig in deeper and maybe do a series of 10-week. Anyway, so after the 7 physical chakras, we do this for the 8th center. When you come to the 8th center, which is 16 inches above your head, bless the center with gratitude or appreciation or thankfulness, because gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. It's in gratitude for what your chosen potential is that allows it to come about. Now open your focus and place your attention on the electromagnetic energy surrounding your entire body, building a new field of energy. As your body draws from a new field of electromagnetic energy, you become more light, more energy, and less matter. And you raise your body's frequency. And that's, I like even the language of it, less matter.
Yeah.
Has some
It don't matter.
double entendres that go with it. Then chapter 5 gets into sensitizing. This is a real cleansing one. This is sensitizing yourself to the Kegels, the lower abdominal muscle contractions while breathing. Press your finger on the top of the head and get that sense of the tube that comes all the way through. And then you do the tense. You tense the Kegels and the abdominals, and then you do a normal inhale. You do an intense exhale, and you push and hold. You tense up these lower and then even upper abdominals to push the energy up through this tube to activate the pineal gland, which he describes it as you kind of get a buzz. That it actually gets into the creation of DMT that naturally occurs in the brain, and which he says is a natural chemical that comes from melatonin, which is mediated by the pineal gland. The pineal gland gets a signal that says, okay, let's produce some of this, and some of this melatonin can be turned into the DMT, which is, so the first few times that one does this, you might kind of go, ooh, kind of feel like, oh wow, I'm having a mystical, why when somebody says they're having a mystical experience, it feels somewhat different because there's some real neurobiochemical changes that are occurring in the body and in the brain. And then the next, chapter 7, is the heart coherence meditation. And it's just really focusing on the heart center. And he then recommends a daily, at least 10 minutes of doing heart chakra ones every day, in addition to some of the other meditations. When I started counting up, you're investing some time in doing this. Eventually, when we get into the walking, though, the amount of time that it's going to take will be less, but ramping up to the point to where you can do some of these others, it takes time and effort, and it is an investment in energy. The next one is the chapter 8, the mind movies and the kaleidoscopes. It's basically self-inducing trance meditation, using a kaleidoscope app and producing a multimedia presentation using images, music, etc. that represent your new life intentions, intermixed with kaleidoscope aids. That helps to keep the internal dialogue out of the awareness of focus and enhances the meditative trance states for reinforcing the new images being right below the conscious surface and assisting in the allowing process for manifestation. Then walking meditation, and I've never seen a description quite like his for walking meditation, and I've got a whole folder of walking meditations at home that I've picked up from various sources. But he starts you with a sitting meditation, with your eyes closed, and really getting into the field, and getting to that no mind, no self, so that you're really in a deep trance first, and then you open your eyes and you try and hold on to the trance while you walk. See, it's like you have to find a quiet space in nature. No bears or anything,
I hope not.
No cougar. You gotta find a safe place, where you could do this, so that because you're not going to be in much of a position to do much about it in terms of the physical world. So, and again, this is something too. You look about finding people that you trust, to do this with, and to maybe have a guide with you or someone that can kind of keep an eye on you. And then this involves doing it for 10 minutes, then stop, and recalibrate and so on and so forth. So, and then there's a couple more, and I have these handouts for it. So we're gone past, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to read the announcements, and then we'll gather in the back.
You're good.
Okay. Men's group will meet this Thursday at 10 a.m. The discussion topics vary week to week, so feel free to join in at any time. What are we doing this week, Steve? Do you know?
Good question.
All right.
Still TBD.
Okay, also on Thursday, the mat makers will meet and continue working towards their goal of 100 mats in 100 days. There are also meet on Saturdays from 10:30 to noon. There are several ways you can help them meet their goal. No experience is necessary. Next Sunday at 9:15 in the New Thought World Religions Adult Sunday School, Paul Day will be discussing Jesus for the non-religious. The next diversity game night is Friday, October 27th at 6 p.m. Bring a treat to share and join us for Halloween tricks and treats. Feel free to dress up. Come join the fun on October 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the annual Spook Truncular Party. We would love to see our parking lot full of decorated trunks and children having fun. And the youth are accepting candy donations for this event. You can drop your candy off Monday through Thursday, 10 to 4, or if you wish, drop a monetary donation will be used to buy more candy. Today begins the last week of our 8 items in 8 weeks challenge for our shelter. It's not too late to get involved. You just need to bring in all 8 items in by next Sunday before service to be entered into the drawing. If you've already brought all items in, please check with Lisa to make sure you've been entered in the drawing. We have 13 entries in the drawing, and judging by the amount of donations, there should be a lot more than that. This week's item is toilet paper. Mark your calendars. The next potluck is November 5th at the town hall meeting right after the service. Sign up in the foyer with what you will bring, and if you can help to set up or clean up. The Thanksgiving potluck will be on November 23rd. Holiday decorating will begin on November 26th. And the Christmas potluck will be on December 25th.
December what?
25th, it says.
Monday.
All right, that's it. Bye, folks. Sorry I wasn't connected the whole time.